Activists are pushing for more help in the search for a missing South Carolina mother of two. Alexis Ware was last seen 3 weeks ago on January 30th in Anderson County. Her red Honda car was later found on a rural property in McCormick County, but Ware has still not been found. Investigators do not know how the car ended up there. Activists have requested the FBI's help, but the agency released a statement to our sister station in Greenville saying law enforcement has not asked for their help. Anyone with
Welcome to the True Crime Cinema. While you are here, please hit the subscribe button and comment your view on the story and where you're watching from. Some people light up every room they walk into. You know the type. The kind of person who makes you feel seen, who makes you laugh without even trying, who carries so much energy and life inside them that you just assume, you just take for granted, that they'll always be there, that the world will always have them in it. Destiny Moore was that kind of person. She was 29 years old, living in Charlotte, North Carolina, building a life that was entirely her own. She was a hairstylist, and not just someone who cut hair for a living, but someone who had turned her passion into something real. She ran her own home studio, building a loyal client base one appointment at a time, one relationship at a time. If you've ever had a hairstylist you truly love, someone you trust not just with your hair but with your stories and your worries and your Thursday afternoons, then you understand what kind of space Destiny held in people's lives. But she wasn't stopping there. Destiny had plans. Big ones. She was working toward opening her own fashion boutique in Atlanta. She had a vision for what her future looked like, and she was moving toward it with the kind of quiet, determined energy that doesn't make the news but builds something real over time. She was active on social media, building a presence, connecting with people, showing the world who she was and what she was creating. She was also a mother, a daughter, a friend. She had 2 children, a little girl and a little boy, who were the heartbeat of everything she did. Every plan, every dream, every early morning and late night was shaped around them, around giving them something better, around being someone they could be proud of. That is who Destiny Moore was. And then, on the night of January 30th, 2022, she drove away from a gas station in Mecklenburg County, and nobody has seen her since. But before we get to that night, there's something important you need to know. Something that, in hindsight, feels like a warning that nobody knew how to hear in time. In the weeks before she disappeared, Destiny told her family that she felt like someone was following her. She described a dark truck that seemed to show up wherever she went. She told them she had been receiving strange phone calls, unknown numbers, repeated calls, the kind that make the hair on the back of your neck stand up. She was scared. She felt it. That specific, instinctual kind of fear that your body registers before your mind can fully explain it. And then she said something to her mother that nobody in her family has been able to forget. She told her mother that she didn't think she was going to make it to her 30th birthday. She was 29 years old when she said that. Her 30th birthday was just weeks away. We don't know exactly what Destiny meant by that. We don't know if she had received a specific threat or if it was a feeling she couldn't shake or something in between. What we know is that she felt it. And we know that the people who loved her heard those words and worried, but hoped, the way families always hope, that it was just anxiety, just stress, that she would be okay. She was not okay. And on January 30th, 2022, the worst fears of everyone who loved Destiny Moore became something they could no longer push away. The day she vanished. January 30th, 2022 started as an ordinary day. That's the thing about the days that change everything. They rarely announce themselves. They look just like any other day until suddenly they aren't. Destiny had made plans to meet the father of her son, a man we'll call Travis, at a gas station off the highway in Mecklenburg County, about 30 miles from her home in Charlotte. The purpose of the meeting was straightforward and practical. She was transferring temporary custody of her 2 children to Travis, who was going to take them to stay with his mother for a while. Parents make arrangements like this all the time. It's not dramatic. It's not unusual. It's just the ordinary business of co-parenting. 2 people who share children trying to coordinate their lives in a way that works for everyone, especially the kids. The meeting took place at a gas station convenience store. Security cameras inside and outside the building captured everything. You can see Destiny arriving. You can see her with her children. You can see the handoff, calm, without conflict, without any visible tension. The footage shows nothing alarming, nothing that would tell you, watching it, that this was the last confirmed sighting of Destiny Moore. After handing over her children, the plan was for Destiny to follow Travis in her own car, a red 2019 Honda Accord, as they pulled out of the gas station. At some point on the highway shortly after leaving, Travis stopped at a traffic light. And that's when something shifted. Destiny accelerated. She drove past him at speed, continuing northward alone on the highway. Travis watched her go. That was the last time anyone confirmed seeing her alive and moving freely in her car. After that, nothing. No verified sightings. No phone calls to family. No messages. Just silence. Her phone did ping in the area for a period after she left the gas station, telling investigators her phone was still on and in the region. And there was one more potential lead. A highway camera in a neighboring county reportedly captured an image of a vehicle matching Destiny's red Honda later that same night. But the footage wasn't clear enough to confirm whether Destiny was the one driving, whether she was alone, whether anyone else was in that car. And after that, the digital trail went completely cold. No more pings. No more cameras. No more trace of Destiny Moore anywhere. Her family tried to reach her that night. Then, the next morning, the calls went unanswered. The messages went unread. The silence stretched from hours into a full day, and the fear that had been quietly building in her family's chest began to grow into something they couldn't explain away anymore. On February 1st, 2022, a family member officially filed a missing person report with local law enforcement. That same day, or within 24 hours, police made a discovery that erased any remaining hope that Destiny had simply needed some time away. A discovery that told investigators and told her family that something was very, very wrong. Her car had been found, and what was inside it, and what was missing from it, would raise questions that investigators are still trying to answer to this day. There are details in a missing person case that investigators call indicators. Little pieces of information that, taken together, begin to paint a picture of what might have happened. No single detail tells the whole story. But when you line them up, when you look at all of them together, they start to speak. The discovery of Destiny's car spoke very loudly. Within days of her disappearance, right around February 1st and 2nd, 2022, law enforcement located her red Honda Accord. It wasn't found on a main road. It wasn't found at a rest stop or a parking lot or anywhere that a person might logically stop voluntarily. It was found deep in a remote, wooded area of a rural county near the state border, miles from the last confirmed sighting, hidden down a dirt logging road that most people wouldn't even know existed unless they were deliberately looking for it or already knew it was there. The car was covered in mud. It sat on a path used occasionally by local residents, not the kind of route that a stranger unfamiliar with the area would stumble across by accident. And inside the car were Destiny's belongings. Her cell phone, still there. Her purse, still there. A bag of clothes, still there. All of it, untouched, sitting exactly where she had left it, or exactly where someone had left it. Think about that for a moment. When a person leaves voluntarily, when someone decides to disappear on their own terms, they take their things. They take their phone because your phone is your lifeline. They take their purse because it has their money and their ID. They take their clothes because they're going somewhere and they're planning to stay. Destiny's phone was in that car. Her purse was in that car. Her clothes were in that car. She was not. And outside the vehicle, on the ground next to the car, investigators found one more thing: the black hair bonnet she had been wearing when she left the gas station that night. It was lying there in the dirt, beside the car in the middle of nowhere. Investigators collected fingerprints from the vehicle, but law enforcement never publicly confirmed whether those prints belonged to Destiny or to someone else entirely. Search teams mobilized immediately after the car was found. And when I say search teams, I mean a full, coordinated, multi-agency response. Officers on foot, conducting grid searches through dense woodland extending hundreds of yards out from the vehicle. Cadaver dogs and K-9 units working the terrain. Helicopters providing aerial surveillance. Teams checking nearby boat ramps, shorelines, and bodies of water. bloodhound units following scent trails to adjacent parks and nature areas. They searched. They searched thoroughly. They searched with every tool and resource available to them. They found nothing. No trace of Destiny. No physical evidence pointing to what happened after that car was left in those woods. Just silence and trees and mud and the belongings of a 29-year-old woman who should have been home with her children. For her family, this discovery was devastating in a way that's almost impossible to put into words. Because the car told them everything and nothing at the same time. It told them that something had gone terribly wrong. But it gave them no answers about where Destiny was, or who had done this, or why. And those answers, more than 2 years later, are still missing. When a missing person case like this one goes public, the response from the community is almost always immediate and overwhelming. People want to help. They want to call in tips. They want to share posts on social media, attend vigils, do something, anything that might bring this person home. That response is beautiful. And it is also, sometimes, incredibly complicated for investigators. Law enforcement, in this case, received hundreds of tips from the public in the weeks and months following Destiny's disappearance. Hundreds. And investigators had to follow up on every single one because you never know which tip is going to be the one that breaks a case open. You can't afford to dismiss anything without checking it first. But many of those tips turned out to be false. Some were honest mistakes, people who genuinely thought they had seen something relevant but hadn't. Others were prank calls or hoaxes, people wasting investigators' time for reasons that are genuinely difficult to understand. And some were people claiming to know where Destiny was, feeding her family hope and then pulling it away when the lead went nowhere. Investigators said publicly that the volume of false leads significantly complicated their work. Every hour spent chasing a dead end is an hour not spent following a real one. Meanwhile, law enforcement was working the case from multiple directions simultaneously. They interviewed Travis, the father of Destiny's children, the last confirmed person to see her alive, early in the investigation. He was a natural starting point. He was there. He saw her leave. He was the final piece of the documented timeline. But after those interviews, law enforcement publicly cleared him as a person of interest. Officials stated that multiple avenues of investigation had ruled out his involvement in her disappearance. He was not a suspect. So then, who was? The investigation didn't produce a public answer to that question. No suspects were identified. No charges were filed. No arrests were made. The case remained open and active, but publicly, investigators shared very little about which direction the evidence was pointing, if it was pointing anywhere clearly at all. The concerns Destiny had raised before her disappearance, the dark truck she felt was following her, the unknown phone calls, were taken seriously by investigators. But whether those fears were directly connected to what happened to her on January 30th has never been publicly confirmed. Her family was not willing to let the case fade quietly into the background. Her mother, in particular, became a constant, public, determined voice for Destiny. She gave interviews. She attended press conferences. She kept calling for more resources, more attention, more urgency from the agencies responsible for finding her daughter. That is what mothers do. That is what love looks like when it has nowhere else to go. The family also advocated for something bigger, something that could help other families in situations like theirs. They proposed legislation in the state legislature that became known as the Destiny Moore Act, a proposed law that would allow families to request that state-level law enforcement take over a missing person investigation if it remained unresolved after 1 year. It was an acknowledgement that local investigations, however well-intentioned, sometimes need escalation. Sometimes families need a mechanism to push for more. That advocacy, that refusal to be quiet, is one of the most powerful things a grieving family can do. It means that even if the system failed Destiny, it might not fail the next person. That her name might mean something beyond her disappearance. That her story might change things. That matters. Even when it doesn't bring her home. It has been more than 2 years since Destiny Moore drove away from that gas station and disappeared. And as of today, the hardest truth in the story is simply this. We still don't know what happened to her. She has not been found.
No one has been charged.
No one has been publicly named as a suspect. She remains classified as a missing person, her case listed as active, her file still open in an investigation that has produced no public resolution. And somewhere out there, her 2 children are growing up without her. That is the sentence I want you to sit with. Because everything else in this story, the abandoned car, the digital trail, the search teams, the legislation, all of it flows from that one unbearable fact. Her children are growing up without their mother. The little girl, the little boy, they are getting taller. They are learning things. They are having good days and hard days and moments where they need their mom, and she is not there. She was planning to open a boutique. She had clients who trusted her, a social media presence she was building, a future she could clearly see even if it wasn't fully formed yet. She was 29 years old, one of those ages where life is just starting to click into place, where the things you worked for in your 20s start to pay off, where you begin to become, fully and confidently, the person you always knew you were. She told her mother she didn't think she'd make it to 30. She didn't, and we have to sit with that. With the terrible weight of a fear she voiced out loud that nobody could protect her from. The questions this case leaves behind are enormous. Why was her car found in such a remote, deliberately hidden location? The dirt logging road, the mud, the isolation, none of that happens by accident. Someone knew that road. Someone drove that car there. Was it destiny? Was it someone else? Why were all her belongings left behind? Why was her hair bonnet on the ground outside the car? What do the phone pings and the highway camera footage actually tell us about her movements that night? And who was with her, if anyone? Who was following her in that dark truck? Who was calling her from that unknown number? Did those things lead to what happened to her? Or were they unrelated? These are not questions with easy answers. Some of them may never be answered publicly, even if investigators are quietly pursuing leads that haven't been shared. And some of them may remain open forever, which is the particular, agonizing cruelty of a missing person case. There is no funeral. There is no grave to visit. There is no moment of confirmed finality that allows the people who love her to begin processing their grief in the way that grief is supposed to move. Her family lives in the in-between, hoping and dreading at the same time. The case received national attention when it was featured on a major investigative podcast, bringing new eyes and new energy to the story. That kind of exposure matters. It keeps names from fading. It reminds investigators that the public is watching, that people haven't forgotten, that the pressure to find answers hasn't gone away just because time has passed. If you know anything about what happened to Destiny Moore on the night of January 30th, 2022, anything at all, the right thing to do is call law enforcement and tell them. Cases like this one are solved by information. By someone who knows something deciding that staying quiet is no longer something they can live with. Destiny Moore was 29 years old. She was a mother, a stylist, a dreamer, a daughter. She had a future laid out in front of her, and she was walking toward it with everything she had. She deserves to be found. She deserves answers. And her children deserve to know what happened to their mother. We haven't stopped looking. We haven't stopped asking. And we won't. Thanks for your watching. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to the Story Room for meaningful stories that inspire and teach life lessons.